Hey, here's a question for you. Are social media beneficial or detrimental to interpersonal relationships? What's your experience and what do you think? I guess while you're watching this clip, you're probably already on one or another kind of social media platform, like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Hey, 你没看错，其实之前就一直想要为大家以及国外的朋友推出英文版的影片很久了，最近终于逼自己来实践这件事了。所以接下来的节目将是一周中文、一周英文的影片内容哦。平常喜欢学英文的朋友们，希望影片内容也对你们有帮助哦。假如喜欢我们每周的影片的话，也快点帮我们按赞、追踪我们的 Youtube 频道，让我们感受一下你满满的支持吧。若是有想要深入了解的一些人际关系的议题，千万不要害羞，快点在影片下方留言，让我们来陪你寻找答案吧。Recently, a friend of mine asked me if I happened to be in an earthquake, looking for escape, and I'm allowed to only take one personal item with me, what would I bring along? What if it was you who were asked of this question? What would your answer be? I think most people nowadays would probably say, my iPhone! Then they'll be running around taking pictures and tweeting about it. Apparently, social media are really sweeping the world and taking up most people's everyday lives. But I've come to ask whether social media are as good and helpful for our relationships as some people claim they are, or are they actually the addictive drugs of the 21st century that may take control over our lives as reported by those medical journals? Some people have even felt so anxious and lonely because of it. Well, today's a view from the psychologist. Hi everyone, I'm Chen. Welcome to MACHIEN on interpersonal relationships. According to the newest Digital 2020 Global Digital Overview Report, released just this January by Data Reportal, over 3.8 billion 16-year-olds to 64-year-olds worldwide are frequent social media users. The medium used to access these social media varies from the computer to small tablets and to smartphones. The statistics show that on average, people worldwide spend approximately 3 to 4 hours on their smartphones each day, where at least half of the time goes to all those chat apps, which is about 2.5 hours. Now, that's global average, so we can assume that the average time used on social media per day per person will likely be higher in some areas, such as the US, Japan, Taiwan, and others, where digital technology are more popular. From the numbers shown, you must now have a better sense of how social media dominate our lives. Later in our future videos, I will share with you some critical aspects of maintaining interpersonal relationships. But now, I just want to focus on one of the details. It's about self-disclosure. How deep your relationship with another person depends partly on how much the both of you are willing to disclose and share with each other your inner selves. A group of psychologists believe that social media are exactly the perfect tool to relationship enhancement, since people get to share more about themselves on these social platforms. According to Race and Schaefer, the two psychologists who founded the theory called interpersonal process model of intimacy. Intimacy within a relationship is built on the basis of how the two bodies interact. Like playing tennis, for example. One person has to hit the ball to the other side of the net, while the other person spots it and hits it back, right? Many psychologists who agree with Race and Schaefer's view then argue that since people are using social media as a tool to throw the ball, meaning to share more about themselves, and they're doing it so frequently, then this behavior must be one that increases the intimacy level between people. In fact, numerous studies have proven this, that when people start to share more about themselves on social media, the psychological distance between them shortens. However, this doesn't mean any form of self-disclosure or post-sharing on social media will be beneficial to people's relationships. A group of communication experts once conducted a series of behavioral studies on people's Facebook use based on race and Shaver's intimacy theory. The result of this longitudinal study shows that there are mainly two types of interactions on social media. One is public sharing without a specific target audience. The other is personalized messaging. And the results of the two are so different, or you could say, completely opposite from one another. The first type of interaction, public posting without a specific target audience. Say, for example, I might see a video clip and think, this is funny, and so I share it on my Facebook post. Or I might be hanging out with friends and decide to post our gathering pictures on my Facebook wall. This form of sharing your life or yourself actually wouldn't help much to your relationships. It's merely a way of saying, hey, I'm here, I'm alive. And when you do it too often, people normally get so annoyed by your post and even might hate you for that. Now, the second kind of self-disclosure is a customized personal sharing. For instance, leaving a direct comment of concern for your friends under their post, or messaging them in private just to chat with them or check on how they're doing. This form of using your social media to connect with others then help to maintain your interpersonal relationships. It brings you guys closer together while increasing the level of intimacy felt in your relationship. However, not everyone sees social media in such a positive light. Another view from other psychologists is the displacement hypothesis, which argues that social media might actually replace people's face-to-face interactions and eventually wear out their relationships. In addition to that, they also believe that social media are just a safe haven or an escape for those who are troubled by their daily social lives. These people already feel disconnected from the world and others and experience great loneliness in life. Sadly, the use of social media does not help them reduce their anxiety. Instead, it pulls them into this bigger hole of loneliness and depression. The social compensation hypothesis also notes that social media are like the perfect getaway for those with social anxiety symptoms. This group of people normally feel anxious and terrified to form in-person interactions with others, and so they try to avoid personal contacts as much as possible. Or maybe because they had awful in-person relationship with someone else before, which eventually turned them from making normal social interactions, while social media prevent all those terrors. They could easily talk with someone without really hanging out with them and letting people see their real selves. But a relationship with this real self-disclosure isn't going to work. After seeing the pros and cons of social media proposed by these psychology research, what's your opinion about it now? What do you think? Do you think it's beneficial to our interpersonal relationships, especially helping to maintain them? Or do you think it's actually quite harmful to our relationships? You might also be wondering, why would these psychologists come to such contrary views about social media? Does that mean there's something wrong with the validity or reliability of their research? Well, I think this question goes back to what we've been talking about earlier. That is, when people use social media to share non-personalized posts and show off messages, the results would definitely be different from using it to make individualized comments and messages. So the same rule follows, right? If people are using social media with different ways and purposes in mind, then of course the result would be different. But let's just give it the benefit of the doubt that social media are indeed a tool to help us connect and form closer bonds with others. We want to keep this in mind and use the ways we would in our personal interactions on social media. Share yourself in a true fashion, or care about people's lives by leaving personal comments related to them. I'm sure your friends will like you more for that. Are you ready to give it a shot now? If you could share this video clip with someone, who would that be? Come on, tag them and let them know that you are thinking about them. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Give us a like if you like our content, or tell us what you would like to know regarding interpersonal relationships. We'll make sure we make a clip about it. See you next time.